Good evening, everybody, and welcome back. I am the crazy short hairy dude, and today we are talking about day 4 of the Battle of the Alamo, which took place in 1836. Uh, so 90 years ago, or not 90 years ago, 190 years ago today. Um, so, uh, Yesterday we talked about how um, the Texans burned down some of the abandoned huts that were outside the walls so that the Mexican army couldn't use them for cover. Um, and then Colonel Travis sent Juan Seguin out with a message for Sam Houston. Uh, and of course, the Mexican army continued bombarding the Alamo. Well, uh, day 4, similar things. So, um, Mexican army kept firing cannons and trying to move their artillery closer. And at the same time, the uh, the defenders were hit with uh, a change in the weather. A blue northern came through, which those of you who don't know what blue northern is, that's a really big cold front, and it dropped temperatures down to nearly freezing. So they're already tired, they're kind of miserable, and now they're cold on top of that. And then, along with everything else, their water supply is starting to run a little short. So they so some of the Texans went outside the walls to try to get water from a nearby stream in a little wooded area. Well, some Mexican patrols happened to come by around the same time, so there was some skirmishes being fought there between the Texans and the Mexican troops there. Um, yeah, so that was going on during um, that day, and yeah, it was just getting just crazy. Um, they were cold, they were miserable, and they were their water supplies were running low. Their morale, uh, I'm not sure how that was going, but you know, yeah, it was crazy. And more and more Mexican troops were arriving. It seemed by the day, more and more were showing up. So things were getting a little bit more desperate uh, for these guys, but they were still holding on. And so far, none of the Texans had been killed, um, which is really saying something. uh, Jim Bowie was still in hospital at this point, still very sick, and still, he was trying to hold on, but he was very sick. And while that was going on, uh, Colonel Fannin, with he had a small group of around 300 men with him. He was uh, on his way from Goliad to reinforce the Alamo. Unfortunately, he received word that part of the Mexican army had been was being sent to Goliad to take that over. So he and his troops marched back to Goliad. So they never arrived at the Alamo, unfortunately. Um, might have been a different outcome, but we'll never know. Yeah, so yeah, all that was going on, and at the same time, Sam Houston was in East Texas recruiting and training, trying to build up an army, and you still have settlers that are trying to um, make their way east to try to get out of the conflict. Um, and not only were they trying to escape from you know Mexican troops and from the battlefield, but while they were heading to East Texas, there was always the possibility of getting raided by some hostile Native American tribes like the Comanche or the Apache. Um, so it was a very dangerous time to be in Texas in 1836. Um, and on the political side, Stephen F. Austin and several others were meeting in a place called Washington on the Brazos, um, where they were convening to try to form a Texas government and draft a constitution and a Declaration of Independence and all these things. And so all that was going on. There was a lot of chaos going on, um, all while 189 men and their their families were there at the Alamo trying to uh, hold off Santa Anna and his troops as long as they could. Uh, so yeah, that's all that happened on this day in 1836. Uh, Tomorrow we'll get into day 5, where things kind of continue, and some things start to get a little bit more interesting. I think it's been interesting up to this point anyway, but yeah, we're going to see some more troop movements and the Texans trying to hold them back more, and even more stuff with supplies and whatnot. But yeah, so that is all that we have time for tonight. Uh, Hope everybody's well. Hope everybody's happy. Um, oh yeah, don't forget, if you're an Elvis fan, the concert documentary, uh, well, it came out today, but it's going on through the weekend at the theaters. Not sure if it's going to be in the smaller town theaters, but definitely in the bigger ones. You can check it out. I'm certainly gonna do that myself tomorrow, Lord willing. Yeah, and until tomorrow, I just want to say God bless and remind everybody that Jesus Jesus is Lord and He loves you. And yeah, remember the Alamo. Good night.